Have you ever noticed how some experiences happen to everyone, but nobody can quite explain them? That strange thought that pops into your head out of nowhere, the song that gets stuck in your head, time slowing down suddenly, the yawn that fills the room. Most people experience this automatically, without stopping to think, but the body never does anything by chance. It sends silent signals, small warning signs, subtle messages that go unnoticed because they don't shout, but they're there, all the time. The truth is that many of the symptoms you shouldn't ignore don't appear as pain or illness. They emerge as strange sensations, quick impulses, curious lapses, automatic reactions. Science observes, describes, measures, but still can't quite figure it out. Meanwhile, the body continues to speak. Early warning signs appear, initial symptoms repeat themselves, and hidden symptoms are swept under the rug of routine. Not for lack of intelligence, but because no one taught you to listen to the signals your body is giving you. In this video, you'll see common human experiences through a different lens, not as cheap mysteries, nor as something to fear, but as clues. Clues about how the mind works, how the body protects you, and how much more is happening behind the scenes than meets the eye. If you feel you've experienced things that defy simple explanations, perhaps the problem was never you. Perhaps you just never learned not to ignore the signs. The call of the void. There are strange moments when the mind launches a quick, unexpected idea, and then it disappears like an echo that doesn't ask permission. This phenomenon is known as the call of the void, and often frightens those who have never heard of it. It's not desire nor intention. It's a silent signal from the brain testing possibilities while monitoring safety. The body reacts with a quick chill, an internal alert, those bodily signals that appear and disappear. When this happens, many people try to push it away without understanding, but there are already early warning signs there asking for interpretation, not panic. Don't ignore the difference between automatic thought and real will. These are initial symptoms of an alert nervous system, not of imminent danger. In practice, the brain creates these thoughts as a control exercise. It presents an extreme scenario to reinforce the opposite, self-preservation. Therefore, the body usually responds with brief tension and immediate focus, a classic example of silent protective symptoms. People who understand this report less fear when the thought arises because they recognize the pattern. A simple example is to pause, take a deep breath, and observe the environment, mentally naming what you see. This attitude helps you listen to the signals your body is giving you without dramatizing. Ignoring the phenomenon or blaming yourself for it only increases the internal noise. Recognizing it is the first step to disarming hidden symptoms. As a mentor, guidance is about clarity and kindness towards yourself. A helpful exercise is to note when these thoughts arise and in what contexts, noticing that they appear more often during times of stress or fatigue. This reveals warning signs about rest, attention, and boundaries. By understanding the mechanism, you transform a scare into learning and learn to separate thought from action, one of the symptoms you shouldn't ignore when seeking mental health. And when the mind launches ideas so quickly, it becomes natural to realize that the brain also copies other people's behaviors with the same speed, sometimes without you noticing, as happens in something as common as a simple yawn. Contagious yawning. Yawning when you see someone else yawning seems silly, but the body takes it very seriously. Contagious yawning is one of those silent signs that the brain is constantly tuned in to the other person. It's not automatic tiredness, it's empathy in action, even when the person swears they're not sleepy. The body responds before reason, emitting signals that pass quickly but say a lot. When this happens, early warning signs of social connection and shared attention emerge. Don't ignore these micro-events because they reveal early symptoms of how the mind reads the environment. In practice, studies show that contagious yawning is more common among people who are emotionally close. The greater the affinity, the faster the brain mirrors the behavior, a classic example of silent bonding symptoms. A simple example: in a meeting, just one person yawning is enough for the effect to spread like dominoes. Observing this without judgment helps to understand the signals your body is giving you about harmony and presence. If the yawn doesn't catch on, it may indicate distraction or emotional distance at that moment. These are hidden symptoms of inattention, not laziness. As a mentor, the tip is to use this as a social barometer. A practical exercise is to notice when you yawn in response to someone and when you don't, relating it to your level of connection or interest. This refines your ability to read warning signs in daily interactions. Small automatic gestures carry valuable information. They are symptoms you shouldn't ignore if you want to understand people and yourself. And when the brain copies a simple yawn, it becomes evident that it also tries to retrieve forgotten words with the same curious insistence, creating that strange sensation that appears on the tip of the tongue. The tip of the tongue feeling, that irritating feeling of almost remembering, is more common than it seems. The word is right there, close by, but it just won't come, and the body feels it. A slight tightness arises, an insistent focus, silent signs that the brain has activated the correct search, but hasn't found the way out yet. It's not a memory lapse. It's an initial symptom that the information exists and is being tracked. The curious thing is that the more you try, the more it eludes you. These bodily signals appear as brief tension and focused attention. Don't ignore it. The discomfort is an early warning sign of how the mind retrieves data. In practice, the brain works through networks, and sometimes the route is congested. Those who relax often remember this later, in the shower or while walking, when the silent symptoms decrease. A simple example is switching tasks for a few minutes or saying related words aloud. This helps open new pathways. Another strategy is writing the first letter or the rhythm of the word. Small triggers that alleviate hidden symptoms of the search. Observing this process teaches you to listen to the signals your body is giving you. Less pressure, more fluidity. Forcing it usually makes things worse. As a mentor, the lesson is to trust the brain's timing. A practical exercise is to consciously pause when the sensation arises, take a deep breath, and shift your focus for 2 minutes. Noting when the word appears afterward reveals warning signs of fatigue and over-control. This transforms frustration into learning, one of the symptoms you shouldn't ignore if you want mental clarity. And when the mind insists on repeating attempts until it finds the word, it's easy to notice how it also repeats entire sections of songs without asking permission, sticking in your head in a curious way. Earworms. Suddenly a song starts playing in your head, uninvited, on a loop as if someone had pressed repeat. These earworms aren't random. They're silent signs that the brain is clinging to unfinished patterns. Usually a short, easy, repetitive passage appears, activating areas linked to memory and emotion. The body reacts with slight restlessness or even pleasure, depending on the song, showing very subtle bodily signals. When this happens frequently, early warning signs of fragmented attention or overstimulation appear. Don't ignore this detail. The brain is trying to resolve something pending. In practice, songs get stuck in your head more when you're tired, anxious, or doing automatic tasks. It's a classic example of a mind silently seeking occupation. A simple trick to break the loop is to listen to the entire song until the end, closing the open pattern. Another strategy is to replace it with a light cognitive activity, such as a simple puzzle or short reading. These actions relieve initial symptoms effortlessly. Paying attention to this process helps you understand the signals your body is giving you about excessive stimuli and a lack of mental breaks. As a mentor, the advice is to use discomfort as a clue, not as an enemy. A practical exercise is to observe when earworms appear most strongly and what emotion was present beforehand. This reveals hidden symptoms of stress or monotony. Small routine adjustments reduce these symptoms, which you shouldn't ignore, such as varying tasks or creating conscious breaks. And when you realize that the brain repeats songs to regulate itself, it becomes natural to notice that it also creates entire worlds when bored, taking the mind far away. Just like in everyday daydreams. Daydreaming in your own head in the middle of the day isn't simply a lack of focus, it's your brain asking for a break. These daydreams emerge as silent signals that the mind needs to integrate ideas, emotions, and desires that have been sidelined. The body follows suit with a distant gaze, looser breathing, and subtle bodily signals that often go unnoticed. When this happens frequently, it becomes an early warning sign of overload or prolonged boredom. Don't ignore these moments. They are initial symptoms of a creative system trying to reorganize itself, not laziness. In practice, daydreaming helps solve problems indirectly. Many solutions appear when a person is washing dishes or wandering aimlessly. Classic silent symptoms of mental incubation. An applicable example is to schedule 2-minute micro breaks between tasks, looking out the window or stretching without your cell phone. This reduces hidden symptoms of exhaustion and increases clarity afterward. Observing the content of daydreams also helps to listen to the signals your body is giving you about unmet desires or postponed decisions. As a mentor, the key is to give shape to daydreaming so it doesn't become an escape. A practical exercise is to write down an idea that came out of nowhere and test it on a small scale that same day. This gesture transforms distraction into action and reveals useful warning signs about real priorities. Completely ignoring daydreaming can erase valuable clues. These are symptoms you shouldn't ignore when seeking a balance between focus and creativity. And when the mind creates scenes to regulate itself, it becomes evident that it also uses humor to align the group, something that appears almost automatically when we laugh together. Why we laugh? Laughter seems simple, but the brain uses laughter as a sophisticated social tool. Often, laughter arises even before understanding the joke, one of those silent signals that the body has recognized safety and belonging. Laughter synchronizes groups, relieves tension, and signals everything is all right without words. The body participates with relaxed breathing, relaxing muscles, and other bodily signals that pass quickly. When laughter appears at unexpected moments, it provides early warning signs of accumulated nervousness or relief. Don't ignore it. There's emotional information there. In practice, we laugh more when we're with people we trust. It's a classic example of the silent signs of connection. A common example: tense meetings break down when someone makes a light-hearted comment and the group laughs along. The energy changes instantly. Consciously using this helps. Starting difficult conversations with something human reduces initial defensiveness. Watching short comedies or recalling funny stories before a stressful moment also helps lower your guard. These gestures listen to the signals your body is giving you about relaxation. As a mentor, the advice is to observe when laughter arises from pleasure and when it arises from tension. A practical exercise is to notice if you laugh to relieve discomfort. This reveals hidden symptoms of social anxiety. Adjusting posture, breathing deeply, and pausing before laughing helps to better read the warning signs. Laughter is healthy, but it's also a message. One of the symptoms you shouldn't ignore to understand contexts. And when emotion intensifies, the brain also alters the perception of time, making seconds feel like eternities in critical situations. Time dilation During emergencies. In dangerous situations, something curious happens. Time seems to slow down, seconds become long intervals, every detail becomes clearer, and the mind enters an almost cinematic state. This is not a complete illusion. These are silent signals from a brain in maximum survival mode. The body releases substances that increase focus and memory, and bodily signals are amplified. Heart rate accelerates, vision narrows, thoughts become clear. These are early warning signs indicating that all energy has been redirected to protect you. Don't ignore this change. It reveals how the brain prioritizes life. In practice, this dilation of time helps in making quick decisions. People who have been in accidents report remembering every step, every sound, as if everything were in slow motion. Classic silent symptoms of hyperattention. A smaller scale everyday example occurs when you almost drop something and manage to react instantly. The brain gains time to act. Understanding this helps you trust your own reactions more, recognizing signals your body is giving you about your responsiveness. These are initial symptoms of a highly adaptive system. As a mentor, the lesson is to learn how to access focus without needing chaos. A practical exercise is to train mindfulness in calm moments, such as taking a deep breath before important decisions. This reduces hidden symptoms of anxiety and improves clarity under pressure. Observing how the body reacts to daily microshocks reveals useful warning signs of accumulated stress. These phenomena are symptoms you shouldn't ignore if you want to understand performance in critical moments. And when the brain doubles its time to save you, it becomes clear why it also seeks expression and meaning when there is no danger, something that manifests in the deep need to create art and music. The need for art and music. There is something profoundly human in the need to create and consume art and music. Even on ordinary days, the body craves rhythm, imagery, melody, silent signals that the mind seeks balance beyond logic. When someone listens to music and feels goosebumps or is moved by a simple painting, these are signs of the body reacting to patterns that organize emotions. Ignoring this often generates hidden symptoms such as apathy, irritation without a clear cause, or a feeling of emptiness. These are early warning signs that the mind needs expression. Don't ignore it when your body asks for beauty and meaning. In practice, art and music help the brain regulate internal states. People who draw, write, or listen to music attentively report a reduction in silent symptoms such as diffuse anxiety and constant tension. A simple example is creating a small artistic routine, listening to a specific song upon waking, doodling for 5 minutes, or reading short poetry before bed. These habits alleviate initial symptoms without requiring heavy mental effort. Paying attention to the emotions that arise helps to understand the signals your body is telling you about what needs to be processed. As a mentor, my advice is to treat art as a necessity, not a luxury. A practical exercise is to choose a song that represents your current state and listen to it without distractions, observing your physical and emotional reactions. This gesture reveals warning signs previously suppressed by routine. Creating isn't about talent, it's about inner listening, one of the symptoms you shouldn't ignore if you want lasting mental health. And when you understand that the brain seeks meaning through art, everything that came before fits together like pieces of the same system waiting to be understood. After going through all of this, it becomes clear that these experiences were never random. They were always there, discrete, recurring, waiting for attention. The problem isn't that science doesn't yet have all the answers, it's that most people have never learned to listen. The silent signs appear before the crises. The early warning signs emerge before the collapse, and the initial symptoms demand adjustment long before they turn into pain. But almost everyone learns to normalize, to minimize, to move on. And that's where the hidden symptoms gain ground. Change begins when you decide to stop ignoring what you feel. When you start observing your impulses, your laughter, your daydreams, your automatic reactions as information, not as noise. The body's signals are not weakness, they are biological intelligence. They show limits, needs, directions. How many symptoms that you shouldn't ignore have you treated as all in your head? What if, in fact, they were invitations to live with more presence, clarity, and meaning? Listening to the signals your body is giving you is an act of responsibility towards yourself. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these experiences affected you the most? Which one have you lived through but never quite been able to explain properly? Write in the comments, because when you put it into words, your consciousness expands. And if this type of content helps you understand yourself better, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here you will continue learning to recognize warning signs, interpret silent signals, and use this knowledge to live more lucidly before your body needs to speak louder.